Witam również serdecznie panią profesor Kamilę Miłkowską-Samul z ICSI, z mojego macierzystego instytutu. I last but not least witam dlatego na koniec, ponieważ są to współorganizatorzy, w związku z tym razem witamy państwa. Więc witam bardzo serdecznie pana prorektora Radosława Kaletę i pana profesora, który jest prodziekanem Wydziału Lingwistyki Stosowanej. I witam serdecznie, czyli razem z panem profesorem Małeckim, również witam państwa. Pan profesor Małecki jest dyrektorem Ośrodka Studiów Szwajcarskich i jednocześnie dziekanem Wydziału Neofilologii. Donc, monsieur l'ambassadeur, encore une fois, merci du patronage de l'ambassade, de votre soutien. Et c'est vraiment un honneur, c'est un immense plaisir de vous avoir parmi nous. J'ai également l'honneur d'accueillir monsieur Marc Bruchet, chef de mission adjoint. Je voudrais saluer également madame Agnieszka Arzt et madame Maciąg. Donc, c'est un plaisir. Je suis personnellement très ravi de vous avoir parmi nous aujourd'hui. L'aina passar à la part plus substantiale de l'incontro e suoi buon partij. Sì, ma avant de far, l'aina dar il plet al nos coordinators. Jeszcze słowo od panów profesorów, dziekanów. Bardzo proszę, pan profesor Radosław Kaleta.
Bonjour, good afternoon. I'm Radosław Kaleta, Vice Dean of the Faculty of Applied Linguistics. And last year it was Professor Agnieszka Andrychowicz-Trojanowska who was with you. Today she cannot be with you, but she really wanted to be here. And she wrote a short letter and asked me to read it. Mr. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, I am very happy that the next edition of this important and very interesting initiative is taking place at the University of Warsaw. I participated in the event a year ago and still remember some interesting linguistic and cultural, as well as historic aspects that were mentioned then. I'm sure this year it will be even more inspiring and thought-provoking. I would like to thank all the organizers of the meeting and wish you all a very fruitful next hour. A lot of scientific but also private thoughts related to the topic and very nice memories of the event. Thank you.
I ostatnie słowo w tej części powitań należy do gospodarza tego miejsca, pan profesor Małecki.
Najpierw po polsku, a potem po niemiecku, żeby było tak bardziej kolorowo. Witam panie ambasadorze, witam Lwina, witam wszystkich państwa. I ja powiem bardzo mocno w nawiązaniu do rzeczywistości, w której teraz żyjemy. Przedwczoraj zmarł Marian Turski. Jedną z jego ważnych wypowiedzi była swego czasu taka wypowiedź, o której powiedział: siłą demokracji nie jest siła większości, tylko to, jak bardzo broni i dba o mniejszości. I wydaje mi się, że dokładnie tego doświadczamy w wykonaniu szwajcarskim w najlepszym stopniu. I tego również chcemy uczyć i to chcemy pokazywać naszym studentom i studentkom na helwetologii, studiach szwajcarskich w Ośrodku Studiów Szwajcarskich, który mamy na Uniwersytecie Warszawskim od kilku ładnych lat już. Auf Deutsch nun, es ist wirklich mal eine Frage der Gegenwart. Vor 2 Tagen ist ein sehr, sehr wichtiger Mann leider gestorben, Marian Turski. Der hatte vor einiger Zeit mal gesagt, die Stärke der Demokratie besteht nicht darin, wie stark die Regierenden sind, sondern wie stark die Regierenden um die Minderheiten sich kümmern und sie auch pflegen. Und das ist das, was wir am Beispiel der Schweiz am deutlichsten erkennen und sehen. Und das ist auch das, was wir den Studierenden an der Fakultät oder an der Richtung Helvetologie, Schweizer Studien beibringen wollen. Wir wollen, dass die Demokratie heute darin besteht, dass alle das Recht haben, in jeder möglichen zugänglichen Sprache zu sprechen, zu schreiben und das zu sagen, was sie für wichtig halten. Dziękuję bardzo za dzisiejszą organizację i mam nadzieję, że dzisiejsze spotkanie spodoba się Państwu tak, jak podobało nam się to w zeszłym roku. Vielen Dank.
Jeszcze pozwolę sobie powitać studentki i studentów helwetologii oraz ICSI i być może inne osoby, których nie jestem w stanie rozpoznać. Również chcielibyśmy powitać osoby, które nas ewentualnie oglądają zdalnie. Tutaj nie mam takiej informacji, że w ogóle takie osoby są, ale jeśli są, to witamy bardzo serdecznie.
Tak.
Wina się zgadza. Przejdziemy do tej części teraz bardziej concretnej. Faccia una piccola presentazione da tia persona, piccola presentazione. MEVINA Porger è cresciuta a Coira, la capitale grigiona. MEVINA Porger wychowała się w Gryzonii, w Chur, w stolicy tego kantonu, a studiava romanistica a Turich, studiowała romanistykę w Zurychu, a doktora con professor Iso Camartin, doktoryzowała się profesora Iso Camartina, è stata magistra da scuola media e docente all'Università di Turich. Czyli uczyła w szkole średniej i również była wykładowczynią na Uniwersytecie w Zurychu. Ma in anni a casa di Tura, prowadzi dom wydawniczy, jest docenta da lingua e cultura rumancza, cały czas prowadzi zajęcia z języka i kultury retoromańskiej na różnych kursach. A tra i suoi fans cresciuti e viva con sei som a Turich ed Engiadina a Romansh. Jest kończyst. Wszystko dobrze, MEVINA potwierdza. Także ma trójkę dorosłych dzieci i żyje z mężem w Zurychu i w Engadynie w Romansh. MEVINA eu dun il plet a tai.
Grazie Car MACIEJ. Di mena stima signor ambassador Car Fabrice. Stima signor Marc Brochet. Stima professor Małecki, Car Robert. Stimada dona Agnieszka, Arzt. Stimadas damas e signors in questa sala, e mi è un grandissimo onore stima e Car MACIEJ. Stima. E mi è un grande onore di poter essere la seconda parte della EMNA RUMANTSCHA, quindi l'anno passato ho potuto essere parte dell'EMNA RUMANTSCHA qui a Warsaw, a Varsovia, qua è stata via forma digitale ed era qua in una finestrina e ha visto il pubblico. Oggi è il 87 anniversario del Romansh con lingua nazionale e non di author. I don't have to translate it because you know everything I told, because Mr. Ambassador told us, and you had the yes, and how I mes appellatif, el signor ambassador. So you also recognize the names. Today we will split the introduction in two parts. One is the history of the Romanish language. I hope it's not too boring for you, but sometimes it's boring, and we will immediately switch to something nicer. We will start with a rap. It's not a very new one. It's now about 15 years old, 2013, made by Snook. And then we will go on with the history, and we will speak today only about 3 poems from Wisława Szymborska because they're very long and they're very complicated. They seem very simple, but they're very complicated. So we will just give you an appetizer, but we translated, of course, more than 3. I think that's that.
Już Państwo odkryliście pierwsze kłamstwo na plakacie w języku polskim i romańskim. Tak naprawdę jest to eksperyment językowy, ponieważ publiczność posługuje się różnymi językami, więc zobaczymy, jak to wyjdzie. Ja tylko mam nadzieję, że jakoś się sprawdzę w roli pomocnika czy posiłkowego, bo jest mi bliska terminologia gramatyczna. Tak, mamy czasowniki posiłkowe, także MEVINA wita Państwa wszystkich i tak jak wspominał Pan Ambasador, spotykamy się z okazji 87. rocznicy ważnego wydarzenia, kiedy to w referendum język retoromański został jednym z 4 języków narodowych Szwajcarii. Zaczniemy od takiego startera, który jest piosenką rapową, coś takiego jak amuse-bouche, czyli coś na zachętę, i później przejść do części bardziej takiej do wprowadzenia na temat pewnych faktów z zakresu lingwistyki, socjologii języka na temat języka retoromańskiego i jego sytuacji, a później przejść do szymborskiej. To idea była taka, że język retoromański nie jest tylko kawałkiem muzealnym, czy nie jest eksponatem muzealnym, który możemy przekładać na inne języki, ale jest też językiem, który może przyjmować z dużych kultur. Także retoromanin oczywiście może przeczytać szymborską w języku niemieckim, ale w świecie idealnym mógłby przeczytać w swoim własnym języku ojczystym retoromańskim i być może do tego się troszeczkę zbliżymy właśnie poprzez tę próbę przykładu. En a dit wat, en a junt choses, dowart il dialog. Stąd jest ta idea, że retoromański i polski w dialogu. Romansh Polak in dialog.
Maybe I just want to add a little thing about the EMNA RUMANTSCHA. Maybe you mentioned it, I don't remember, Mr. Ambassador, that it is a gift from a federal councillor, Ignacio Cassis. He was a guest in 2019. You told it? No, I did not. Okay, shall I just, in just 2 sentences, he was guest at the 100th birthday of the Lingua Materna, which is the head umbrella organization from the different Romansh parts, the written dialects, which are idioms. And he was invited, and they made a big party in Zurz, in the Engadin, and then he promised to the Retro One to introduce this EMNA RUMANTSCHA, this Romansh week, as we have a French week and an Italian week. And after the 2019, we remember the pandemic started, so it was a very hard beginning. And but we go on now, and I hope very much that EMNA RUMANTSCHA, which is a kid now, will have a good education and will be a good adolescent and a good person at the end. That was all. I think it's better I say it in English. Est-ce que je dois parler français? Qu'est-ce que c'est mieux? Bon, mon cœur parle français. Et le reste, probablement. For the students, it's better English than français. English. Well, English. Okay, but we had, before the amuse-bouche, we had one linguistic one. Do you remember? Others?
Sì, Malgort. Laina començar con quist congual. Laina començar con quist congual, per cercar tot les dues línguas en quist tuns, x, e quais als curios, per cercar romansh es una lingua neolatina. Las linguas neolatinas e l'imaginari collectiv sono linguas citunan bain, in vezza, quais sono linguas scroscianti, no? Szeleszczące. I quindi chodzi o to, że tak mamy wyobrażenie, że języki romańskie są językami, które ładnie brzmią, mają dużo samogłosek, jak na przykład włoski. Jest tam oczywiście dźwięk szy, ale jeśli przysłuchamy się retoromańskiemu, to możemy odnieść wrażenie, że jest to język szeleszczący, tak? Czyli nie wchodząc w szczegóły fonetyczne, jakoś podobny do naszego. Leggia il rüm virlang, jest poi bun partaj. Szczebrzeszynie chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie i Szczebrzeszyn z tego słynie.
Qua era fitch quart. 5 ciacciaders van a ciaccia e slupeten 555 chamoches. Can you imagine what a chamoch is? Yes? Can you? Can you imagine what a ciacciader is? A hunter. And chamoch is camoscio.
5 cacciatori.
Vanno a caccia e uccidono, o come si dice? Sparano, per me è un uccidere, e sparano 555 camosci. Ecco. E i grigionesi sono tanti, sono cacciatori, vivono per il settembre, il resto dell'anno è secondario. Ecco, questo era il nostro amuse-bouche, ora si potrebbe passare al rap. E in ogni caso, se ci sono delle domande, sarebbe molto bello farle ora, cioè durante la lezione. It's better to ask at the moment and not at the end, but because usually at the end you don't, the context is missing and so on. So we are happy to be interrupted. I am, and probably also MACIEJ. Are you?
Yes, I am.
Yes, he is.
Sainz Otter.
Snook, lingua materna. Snook, lingua materna. This. Questo. Snook, lingua materna. Yeah, but maybe with the go wild with generative.
Go wild with generative AI.
Amo in plet, to wart Lingua Materna. Tutaj pojawia się taki topos języka ojczystego, jest taki słynny hymn retoromanów Cara lingua della mamma, drogi języku matczyny. Także tu jest takie jakby współczesne nawiązanie do tego.
Maybe it was a too dramatic interruption.
Mamma mia, yeah. Mamma mia, oh ma mère,
Non si vede?
Non abbiamo spiegato il compito.
Yes, and we don't see it. We too see it, and we know it by heart, but they don't see it. This is a technical problem.
No, è uguale. Tanto devono ascoltare il testo, no?
Beh, allora però saltiamo, prendiamo solo il testo.
No, perché devono riconoscere le lingue. Ok, veniamo.
Poverini. We have it. Yes, that was my idea, but it's very nice, Jan. We can, but here it's only in a more academic way.
Do you want to explain the task?
Pardon me?
Do you want to explain the task?
The task, yes. Well, for the younger people, not the professors, not the ambassadors, not the diplomats, they could try to recognize the languages. There are 5. We don't hear the whole, just part.
Mamma mia, yeah. Mamma mia, oh ma mère, was werd hier van doen het best? Doesn't matter where you come from, la langue maternelle, pour lui et pour elle. Versta Verstehst mich, über meine Muttersprache. Verstehst mich, nem parce que c'est ma langue. Verstehst mich, amo la mia lingua per sempre. E niente, ma lingua materna.
Wo schreibt wer reint, ti dovrà linguas conscienti, in snap un divertimento, spigliore il da dainti, te spera in quel culo, voglio essere papi giulo, scel sabe tu dash, il dio vaffanculo, ci vai screccia, vos rap, lascerà subito la langa, ci schiet con se rap, e lo fa l'italiana, e per qua e passa tesco in tornado il mondo, ci a tema dell'omne, sono tornato stronzo.
Questa è la lingua materna, ich klinge canere, son giuve motiva in una vita eterna, ich griff nach der Sterne noch ein bisschen weiter, ob Romanisch, Deutsch oder Russland, Schweizer, ma schon Kulturen, das ist Kino Grande, ich kämpfe für Freiheit wie der Rio Grande, c'è tocca mi score, allein Giardina, mich die besten MCs und Rap-Maschine.
Mamma mia, oh ma mère, das wär ich, wenn du nicht wärst. Doesn't matter where you come from, la langue maternelle, pour lui et pour elle. Verstehst mich, über meine Muttersprache. Verstehst mich, nem parce que c'est ma langue. Verstehst mich, amo la mia lingua per sempre. E niente, ma lingua materna.
I will send you the rest. Is that good? Because there is it's nice. It's nice because they're very beautiful young people. Did you recognize the languages? Which one? Bravo. And what kind of German? And why do you guess Swiss German? Yes, yes. Ein bisschen. Wo war das? Ah, ich greif nach den Sternen. I try to catch the stars. Ich greif. Ich liebe meine Muttersprache. Es ist schon Schweizerdeutsch, aber welcher Dialekt? Quel Dialekt? Ja, also wenn Zürich Ostschweiz wäre, dann ist das so. Ja, ich greife nach den Sternen noch ein bisschen auf Romansh, Deutsch und Auslandschweizer. And if you listen to the whole rap, there is also the young people who have other accents, mini mom and my dad, no? And they have like Slavic or Italian or Spanish accents. But this is Swiss German from a Romansh. So that's the reason Mr. Ambassador said Ostschweiz, because there is a little bit Ostschweiz drin. That's right. Yes. Why the title Lingua Materna? And then we can go on. Now we didn't see the movie because Snook, the important one, he's Ich liebe, and I ain't my lingua materna. And there is a hymn from the Romansh people, Cara lingua della mamba, and there the title is also Lingua Materna. But why this mixture? Are these all linguas maternas? I think this is the reality, because many young Romanish people are living in Zurich, and then they are together with Swiss German, with French, with Italian, with other minorities living in Switzerland, like Polish, maybe also a few, Spanish, French, Serbo-Croat, and so on. So this, I think he wanted to say that the lingua materna is now the linguas maternas.
Plurilinguizmo. Jednym słowem, wielojęzyczność.
Zusammenfassung. Very good. Plurilinguismo.
This one is too easy.
Ah.
In just di szkoła Romansh, gdzie się mówi po retoromańsku. Switzerland. So this one is excessively easy. This one.
Yeah, but what I think it's easy, but do you see how tiny Switzerland is? I think this is important to know. I mean, it's very, very, very tiny. And we have 4 languages, 3 official, 4 national, and Graubünden, as the Mr. Ambassador said, is the biggest canton with 3 canton languages. It's very complicated and it's very, very tiny. That's the reason I like this slide. You don't like it so much. Okay, go on. That was the... Cosa vai in avanti? So that was too easy. This is a little bit more difficult, but also easy. So what about the green part? Schweizerdeutsch, and Mr. Ambassador said from the eastern part. So in Bern redet man ganz anders als in St. Gallen. In St. Gallen ist alles ganz weit hinein. Und in Bern tun sie so reden. Und in Wallis, das versteht man dann gar nicht mehr. So every canton has his dialect. So it's also complicated, and it's very nice to study the dialects. And the problem is these dialects are dying because the mixture of all the different people is too big. But if you go at the borders from the cantons, like in Wallis, dort reden sie wirklich noch Walliser Deutsch, then you can hear how the language developed. Is that enough? Shall we say something from the French part? They have also dialects. What about the dialects in the French part?
Unfortunately, the dialects were still spoken by my grandparents, for example, in the Valais, have really been dying out. So in daily life, they are not spoken anymore, but you have some association, cultural associations still practicing the language and offering some theater play, for example, in the local dialect, which is a French Provençal dialect, and it changes a bit the tone, but it sounds a bit more. It's a bit more round than French, a little more singing than French, and it has an incredible vocabulary when it gets to nature, because basically that was the language used in the mountains, by the people living there. So they have a very wide vocabulary when it gets to describing the slopes and the trees and the colors and so on. But yes, it's more like we try to keep it as part of the heritage, but unfortunately it's not taught anymore at school. It's more like volunteers and people that just invest time in keeping this memory.
Thank you very, very much. And probably it is not written very often. Is that right? It's not written very often. And if a language is not written, it has not a very good future. So that's probably also a political reason, like the French has another history, like German or Italian or Romansh. But in Switzerland we have 4 national dictionaries, and there the patois are studied and will be preserved for the future. Maybe we need the translation in English for the future, but not in the next 10 years. We hope so.
E da amo una cosa da declarar, questa differenza tanto il Romansh e l'Ladin.
Quella vaina da vo, quella vaina moniata. Perché signor ambasciatore ha finito discurito il friolan. So we will speak after about Romansh and Ladin, because here I have to be sincere. It doesn't make sense. Do you agree? I agree. So we don't mention it here. I don't know where it goes on. Can you? Okay. So now we get closer. Why did I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in these order? my two students. One could be the biggest group, is that correct? And two, and so on. And if you look at number 5, you can also understand why number 5 is number 5, because there is, or maybe we can show it just here. You see here, tusis, but because I don't know the cursor, I adore my laptop. Just the cursor? Ah, ecco. So this is German. So number 5 is divided in 2 groups, and it's not very, very big. You see it now, no? At the end, we arrive at a small number, and we go on now. Oliver, sti modirać? Mankać? We will come back to the history, and we will now make a very nice interlude with Wisława Szymborska. I like very much this photograph because I think it shows how she lived. She's not at her desk. She's there with a cup of tea, I think so. She has flowers beside her, and behind there is an ash tree. So it shows really her life, and I think in her poems, she just brings her life, but she shows it in a way which is very, very tricky. You have to read and to study the poems many times until you understand them. And we want just to give like an introduction with one of her most famous poems, which is Meow. And you will read it in Polish, and I will read it in Romansh. Is that fine?
It's very fine. I can do it in Polish.
And I'm very happy I don't have to do it in Polish. But I know one word. Tak.
Kot w pustym mieszkaniu. Umrzeć. Possiamo anche distribuire i testi per la vostra comodità. Zastanawialiśmy, co by zrobiła Szymborska. Na pewno byłaby zdania, że warto to teraz zrobić. Mamy dla Państwa czekoladki. Proszę się częstować. Teraz dalej.
Grazie Fitch. Grazie. Grazie Fitch, a MACIEJ. Grazie Fitch. Merci, merci.
Mańca?
Vosto ler tutta la poesia e devo svezza, ora si vede, now we see MEVINA, now we see Polish and Italian, and afterwards German and Romansh. Because this poem I translated the first time from German in Romansh, and then the hard work with the MACIEJ started. And then we understood that we had to take the Italian translation, because the Lady Szymborska worked together with the Italian translator. Probably she didn't work so close with the German translator. But we realized that as we made a comparison between German and Italian and Polish and Romansh.
Kot w pustym mieszkaniu. Umrzeć. Tego nie robi się kotu. Bo co ma począć kot w pustym mieszkaniu? Dorpywać się na ściany, ocierać między meblami. Nic niby to nie zmienione, a jednak pozamieniane. Niby nie przesunięte, a jednak porozsuwane. I wieczorami lampa już nie świeci. Słychać kroki na schodach, ale to nie te. Ręka, co kładzie rybę na talerzyk, także nie ta, co kładła. Coś się tu nie zaczyna w swojej zwykłej porze. Coś się tu nie odbywa, jak powinno. Ktoś tutaj był, a potem nagle zniknął i uporczywie go nie ma. Do wszystkich szaf się zajrzało, przez półki przebiegło, wcisnęło się pod dywan i sprawdziło. Nawet złamało zakaz i rozrzuciło papiery. Co więcej jest do zrobienia, spać i czekać. Niech no tylko wróci, niech no się pokaże, już on się dowie, że tak z kotem nie można. Będzie się szło w jego stronę, jakby się wcale nie chciało, pomalutku, na bardzo obrażonych łapkach i żadnych skoków, pisków na początek.
I apologize. Min l'abitazione vöda. Morir. Quai non es in far in verso in min. C'è verso in min de cercare in un'abitazione vöda. Raiver super pareits, a strujar vid de mobilia. Non gli nu para de esser müda. E totuna es tua totter. Non gli nu para sposta. Usce para. E totuna es tuot ortlö. E la llum non ha de plü la saira. Is do de pass in scala, ma e non son quels. Il mangi met il pesce sul plat, non es ner quel da più bot. Alc non comincia a ses tempusità. Alc non ha ses lö, scoci ves toc. In ciun d'era qua e d'era. E l'ora d'andetta mangia il svani. E manca ostentativamente. Cercià es nu in tot les schaffes. Caminà ses sur tot les coronas. Is a fuà ant ils tapets e controllà. Svutrà ad onta del scomond il palperom. Ce resta mo da far? Dormir e spettar. Opala. I'm sorry. Dies la continuazione. Purcel vegna, purcel es muossa, e n'era baina savair, quai non es in giun far in verso in min, es era incontr cum pass superbi, scoci nus ves in giun bonder, planin, be planin, sympatas fitch parmaladas, ed amo sainza sils, sainza miolar. We speak about the title, shall we just, how, do I go back so? Yes. But now you see the German and the, but we speak about jat, and I made min, I took min, and gatto in Italian, and kot in Polish, and Katze in German. So kot and Katze is probably close, and gatto as well. And min is different. Min is, I have a cat. I write it in the newspaper. But when my cat comes home, I say, ve minin, ve min. Shish, shish, shish. Shish, shish. Or shash, shash, come si dice? Kici, kici. No, vieni, vieni.
In italiano?
No, in polacco. No, we saw it today with the squirrels. Shash, shash. Koch. And the squirrels came in the park. Yes, yes, that was it. Yes. So that's the we make a a difference. I go to the veterinary and I take my cat, il gat. But at home it is il min, and it is also the language for children. And you can also say it to a beloved daughter. Minin, venan minin, little cat. And now?
Faccio piszę komentary in Polak, jest quei bun partaj. Taki jeszcze krótki komentarz do tego, bo po retoromańsku kot, standardowe słowo to jat, albo w zależności gdzie to jest wymawiane, jat, a jat, no to już jest bardzo blisko takiej homofonii międzyjęzykowej, a polskie słowo dziad, no to jest nacechowane negatywnie, w związku z tym chociażby z tego powodu, że tutaj byłby dziad i kot, to z tego to był jeden z argumentów, żeby pozostawić kicię, tak, czyli tego micio po włosku, czyli tego min po retoromańsku. Mimo że tutaj odchodzimy trochę od oryginału, ale to też jakby był wybór tutaj tłumaczki, MEVINA bardzo optowała za min.
Yes, and in German, and then we abandoned the cat. In German, der Kater is the male cat. And the Kater can also be a man who has a lot of success with women, ein Kater. And the same you can say for cat, die Mieze. Mieze is a little bit vulgar, but Kater is nice. And der alte Kater, the old cat, is an old cat, with not enough energy. But that in German and not in Romansh. Shall we go on? Aspetta qua, no? Now we go back a little bit to the Engadin and to Europe. Do you remember why traditional clothes could be important? You have them in Poland as well. Why are they important? Is that just nationalism? And we won't speak about that? We won't speak about that? Is it something else? When did it start? Probably when the nations have been founded. So in Switzerland has been founded in 1845, and in this time the identity of the different parts of Switzerland has been developed and grown. So the costume you see here is the one from the Engadin. For me, of course, the nicest one, probably for Monsieur Marc and Monsieur Fabrice, the ambassador. They are different. Are they also red? They are also red. This is interesting. Very often these costumes are red.
They change from, villages to villages.
Yes, they change in every village and in every valley. Yeah, and from I don't know how it is in the Welschland, how we call the French part, the ambres, the chain, and the earrings, ils pandems, and the glue, you put it in the head, and the brosche in German, in English, brosche. Broschka, probably from German. And in Romanish, puntapet, puntar, to go through the heart, puntapet, brosche. They are taken, or they were brought from the immigrants, the Engadin or the Grisen immigrants. They went mainly to Italy, while the ambres, it came from northern part. But this is Genova, and this is Fiume. Fiume, Rijeka, Genova, and the northern part, Baltic. So the immigrants who are called Randulins, Il Randulin is the name for the immigrants. La Randulina is the swallow, Schwalbe? Rondine, and in Polish? Eskuka. So eskuka, eskuko probably would be the immigrants. So they brought back this jewelry, and the mercenaires, comment dit-on? The mercenary, the Ausland, the soldiers who worked for France and Holland and so on. They brought back the jewelries, and they also brought back probably the is it off? Yeah, the fabrics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the poor families, they made it by themselves. So the one I have is from my grandmother. They made it with the clothes from the men, and the fabric they made it by themselves. But every family needed one, so the girls had to have the same taglia because there was only one.
Faccio un piccolo commentari davanti al randolins, est-ce que bon?
Hi.
Randolins, una randolina, czyli bliskie słowskiem właśnie skółce, rondina, czyli to jest określenie na emigrantów, którzy rozjeżdżali się z Gryzonii po całej Europie. I na przykład mnóstwo cukierników w ten sposób emigrowało i nawet ta cukiernia w hotelu europejskim, Lours, została założona przez takiego właśnie randolin z Engadyny. No i później właśnie wracali i w związku z tym te kostiumy tradycyjne wzbogacały się o elementy. Tutaj na przykład mamy klejnoty z Genui, czy też w innych rodzinach to były murline weneckie, czy właśnie ambra, bursztyn z nadmorza bałtyckiego.
And it is still important. Is it important in the French part to wear these clothes, or is it just for the 1st of August?
Well, there is a cantonal festival. Thank you. There is regularly a cantonal festival, so now it's very rare. It used to be one, on Sunday after Mass. Today it's more in the framework of a cantonal festival, where all the village association get together and come and parade with traditional clothes.
But we had it even for the marriage, for the baptism. It was just the clothes. Probably they didn't have others. That's the second reason. And also for political, when the Gemeindepräsident and so on has been, then they wore this cloth, il costume. So it has also nice sides and not only others. Now this Mr. Ambassador said to you, so you can just repeat me. He spoke about Friaul and he spoke about Grijoun, that would be number 1 and number 5. He didn't speak about number 2, but it's a smaller part. It's probably no, it's not the smallest one. The smallest one is Graubünden, but it is a very small part. So why are they now separated? Have you an idea? Jein. Jein, yes, a little bit, yes, but why? They were once one group. They were once one group. The how do you say, stepson of Emperor Augustus, Drusus and Tiberius, 15 ante Christi. They invaded this part, and they founded 2 provinces from Roman provinces, Raetia Prima and Raetia Secunda, and then that would be this. That I didn't write. And these 2 flashes are the Völkerwanderung, migration at about 500, and then the Langobarden and the Bajuwaren, they separated, they split them in these 3 parts. And you are absolutely right. They could stay in the mountains, and they had to give space in the pianure, in the yes, exactly, in the plains. So the Langbarten, and that means that they were once sisters, and now they are related in a very far way. I would speak with the Friolan, I would speak Italian. With the Ladin Dolomitan, I would speak German or Italian, because they are Ladin Dolomitan and German in Südtirol, and in Bolzano, and in Trentino,
Trento, Bolzano, Trento,
yeah.
Belluno,
Belluno.
Le tre province italiane.
Exactly, about mountains, the Sella Massif. So, yeah. Do you, yes, a question?
Yeah, right now, like, London itself is...
I understand what you mean. There was a project, but my husband at home said you are not allowed to speak about that. Because it was a political project from Mr. Mussolini. It was the same project as Mr. Hitler had. And he said, you are not allowed to say that word in Warsaw, otherwise they chase you away. But you provocated it now. So he wanted, but that would have not been for the dialects or for the Romansh language, that just would have been un impero romano, like Deutsches Reich. And that was in the years of 2030. But he didn't succeed, and the Romansh people woke up finally, and they knew now we have to defend our dialects, and that the goal of this development was, that was Mr. Ambassador said before, was not 1938. And that was just before the Second World War. So probably if we would have today this votation, it would be maybe different, because 92% said yes to Romanish as a fourth national language. Geneva, 93%. But that was geistige Landesverteidigung. I don't know how to say it in English. Geistige Landesverteidigung. That the countries defended themselves because they were afraid to become victims.
Testowania z dystansu wobec Niemiec w 1938 roku.
That's what you mentioned. Yeah, yeah. It would just have been the continuation. Yeah. And we had one very like eine Lichtgestalt. I don't know how to say a hero. It was Peter Lansel, and he was the one. He was the leader of this movement, and he was not a linguistic. He was just a passionate man who had a lot of money, and he provocated that the linguists from Switzerland gave definitions about what is a language and what is a dialect. And for Romanish, for instance, is la donna, me, la donna, las donnas, the women. So las donnas, we have an S plural, which has been articulated. And so we have a few or many other aspects to say, no, it's not Italian, it's another language. And so it became a language with 5 idioms. I don't translate, maybe just the...
Ja faccio piccoli komentari su Peter Lansel. Taki retoromański wieszcz, tak, czyli no też był czas wieszczów, bo to był XIX wiek i on właśnie był politykiem, również dyplomatą, poetą, pisarzem, no i też promotorem idei, że retoromański jest czymś odrębnym od dialektów włoskich i tutaj chodziło właśnie o tę liczbę plurale sigmatico, tak, ten liczba mnoga z S. której nie mamy we włoskich dialektach zazwyczaj.
Dobre. Dobrze.
Donna, donne, tak po włosku, a tutaj duonna, duonnas.
Yes. So, whether Italian nor German, we want to remain Romansh. That was his credo, and he succeeded. He succeeded, but it was in the right time not to lose the language. So we don't translate the poem, we just go
In
on.
momentin ci sta per leggere in romansh, ni italians, ni tudajs, romansh volain restar. Także ani Włosi, ani Niemcy chcemy pozostać.
1913, that was the beginning of this big discussion. Is it good when we go on? Are you tired? Okay, so if you are not tired, what is Roman 1, 2, and 3? We spoke about that before, but maybe a little bit fast. German. But why 3 parts? Number 1, you see it here, you see it here, you see it here, and you see it here. And you see it here. So number 1 is the Walser, die Walliser, wo eingewandert sind in Graubünden. They came as economic fugitives, and they settled at the top of the mountains, and they were very, very fleißig, diligent, and that's the reason there is still some animosität between the Grisen people and the Walser Grisen people, even if they came on 1200, because they had privileges the other didn't have. So this is one. For the Romanish language, that meant that it is the first linguistic challenge, let's say it like that. And number 2, that will be Alemannisches Deutsch. That's Chur, Igis, Langquart, it's Mainfeld, just a very, very tiny part. And this part, number 2, is there because Chur, the capital, has been burned on 1468, plus minus, and that was the reason that the Romanish language and Romanish people lost their capital, their center, economic and linguistic. And to build again a town, I don't have to remind you what it means to rebuild a town. It takes few generations, and the Alemannic worker came and rebuilt the town, and they remained there. And they brought Alemannisches Deutsch. So when I speak Churer Deutsch, which is very close to Alemannic, and very often they answer me in Schriftdeutsch, because it's closer to Schriftdeutsch than Berner Deutsch or St. Galler. And then they think it's Hochdeutsch, because it's closer, as it is an Alemannic dialect. And number 3, ja, das waren die Samnauner, die sprechen ein bisschen tirolerischer, gell, bayerischer, und die haben den Dialekt erhalten, German. And what is ABC? Yes, do you know them? The southern part of the Canton Grison has 3 valleys with 3 different Italian dialects. There we speak about dialects. Il Mesolcinese, and here starts the Tessin, no? And il Bergaiot, with Solio, for instance, and Puszczawin, and here the C. And B, Bergaiot, is a Reto-Lombardic dialect. The other are Lombard dialects and Bergaiot. I understand Bergaiot without understanding Italian. It's very close to Romansh, and you see it's also open to the contact between Maloja and Kazakh and so on is very close.
There's one more Italian dialect, Calanchino.
Yes.
Calanchino, mesolcinese.
Yes. Yes. Il Calanchino, I forgot it. It's
close to mesolcinese.
Yes, yes, and it's very tiny. But you're right. I forgot it. Maybe you should go on.
No.
No, because sometimes I just don't look. So here, and this is also a thing Mr. Ambassador told you before, so I give you the beginning. Or shall I give you all? I give you all. And you tell me what the Romansh people have to do with the English 2092, Portuguese, that shouldn't be English. This is a mistake. This was, I don't remember, but this is my mistake. What? 100 and, so you forgot this, you forget this, but what? Pardon me? Yes, that's Albanish, yeah. I was not very concentrated, I'm very much sorry. Albanish, and Serbo-Croat, and Spanish, and other languages like Polish, no? But all these groups are much bigger than Romanish. Mr. Ambassador, you said 50,000. The Romansh says 60,000. I think it's very difficult to say how many we are, because, I mean, if I understand and speak English, it's not my mother tongue. But if I understand and speak Romanish as I speak English, I could maybe say it's my mother tongue. So it's very difficult to say. But what we know is that it's tiny, no? So I go on, so my mistake is away. The big date, 20 February in 1938, had an enormous input, and 1996 the Romansh became a zum Teil, teilweise, partially, you say, official language. So in the canton it's official, but not for federal questions. What does it mean? Maybe I give it to you. So now you can tell me what you think about that. You said it also. The Romansh Grijoun, the written language for it's the dialects, idioms are also written, but this is the Romansh Grijoun is a koine, so it stands for the 5 idioms. Would you put your children in a Romansh Grijoun school? If you grow up in Surselva or in Sotselva or in the Engadin? Pardon me? Exactly. I would be very much scared. But why? I mean, Romansh Grijoun has been built in 1980, plus minus. And if you think about literature, about the tradition, these are all in our written languages, in written dialects. And in Romansh Grijoun it has to grow, to be developed. But for federal questions, it's perfect. It's perfect. So we have here two examples. The middle one is the example from MACIEJ, and he will explain us why he wanted money. In the middle. Will you?
Qui c'è una moneta d'or in giù tu has 4 versioni linguisticas dall'artice dalla Costituzione,
It's gold, sold out.
Także tutaj mamy na monecie taki dla kolekcjonerów jakby uhonorowanie wielojęzyczności, plurilinguism. I tam są właśnie w 4 językach wyimek z Konstytucji szwajcarskiej, z artykułu o językach I tu powiększony jest artykuł dotyczący języka retoromańskiego i włoskiego, które są otoczone szczególną opieką przez Konfederację.
Schweizer, that would be for all the idioms the same. And if we have 5 names for different names, then the professor who created Romansh Gijun went to France and to Italian, and then he tried to find something. Otherwise, it is das größte gemeinsame, der größte gemeinsame Nenner. I mean, if you have Lish, Leish, Lüsch, you take Lish probably. Lish you have in all, and then A, I, U, U. You see, Schweizer Pass, Passport Swiss, Passaporto Svizzero, Passport Schweizer, Swiss passport. They could have renounced to English because English is not the national language. But anyway, we have the Romansh, and we have it on the banconote, come si dice? Paper money?
Banknoty. In Polak.
No, high o.
Banknoty, quest simile.
Like you have your 10 franken, 10 francs, 10 franchi, 10 francs. So it's always in the 4 languages if you turn it. And here that would be Romansh Gijun, Svizzera, la Confederazione sostegna mesures dels cantons Gijun e Tessin per mantenere e promuovere la lingua romancia e italiana. So you understand it, but nobody is really able to identify.
But before it wasn't in 4 languages.
No, these are my 2 passports.
So this was before the.
Yeah, was it so? Passport Swiss?
1996.
Yeah, it was. And you see, finito. yeah. So the next 2, I think we might make them very short, and I put in colors just to show you how complicated it is in the Grisons to teach one of the cantonal languages. At the beginning, the German part, the Italian part, and the Romansh part have their languages for 3 years. Do you think that the children know their language after 3 years? Ta-ta. And then in the German part, it's Italian ou bien Romansh. So what do they choose? Italian. So Romansh is away. And then when they are in the 5th or 6th grade, they have English. So they have a Romansh child in the Engadin has Romansh, German, and English. Let's say they are more talented for mathematics. They are not able to know or to speak one language, but in any case, not their mother tongue. And this is a Gefahr. Now in the secondary school, it goes on. You see Italian or Romansh or. So the Romansh is just an alternative and not more. And that means that Romansh, even if we have Romansh Gijun and we have nice school books in Romansh Gijun, but it's if the children can, or if the parents of the children can choose, they choose for economical reason probably, and not only by heart. And ça, je le dois dire en français, le français au Grison est en train de mourir parce qu'on va plus l'enseigner. And that's very, very bad, and I think it's also humiliating for the language, for one of the national languages, because if a Grison student wants to study in Fribourg, Lausanne, Genève, he has to learn first English, French. But as English, and I'm sorry for my Versprecher, as English is now the lingua franca in Switzerland, they can do it without any problems. But I think it's a shame that one canton is renouncing to this language. But yes. every canton has different. We should ask Mr. Ambassador, because every canton has different laws to teach, and in Grisen it's every village which can decide. Would you like to say a word, or? But he made the lecture. I'm sorry.
Yes, so as you know, Switzerland in the constitution is a federal state. So it means that all the cantons, all the different parts of Switzerland have a very large autonomy in some of the policies. And education is one of them. So all cantons define their own programs for primary school. For secondary school, they have tried to harmonize to a large extent the content of the programs, so there would be no issue of recognition between the cantons. But for primary school, and especially when it gets to the choice of languages, second language, third language, they decide autonomously. And in some cantons, sometimes it even goes to referendum, and they decide to suppress, for example, French from the cursus and jump to English as a second language, maybe Spanish as a third language. But so this is the way it is in some cantons. But you know, it's not only the Swiss Germans, you know, getting rid of French. It's also the French, Swiss French-speaking schools, you know, not very fond of pushing German. So we have a strange situation as a multilingual country, because we're supposed to be multilingual, but when you go to the local societies, this multilingualism is not always practiced, you know, the way it is written in our constitution and the way we believe it should be in Switzerland. So this is definitely something we have to work on, and yeah, just to sensibilize the new generation to the importance of languages, diversity. You know, it's not only a matter of speaking and being understood, but it's also a matter of just, you know, culture and flexibility in your mind. And so this is something where we can probably be better in Switzerland, beyond the words of multilingualism.
And I mean, we remember the Canton Jura. It's probably the last group who really, they would have defended their territory and their language with fighting. So it was not only nice words. It was a hard time for Switzerland until it became the 26th canton. So it's complicated, but it's also fascinating. And my goal is to say, we like very much English. I have to speak English now to you, but it's not a reason to forget our yes. Yes, yes, it has been 2003. It has been, there was an election in Chur, and unfortunately, I don't make any names. Unfortunately, the Kantonsräte, can you imagine what it is? The deputies from the canton, they had to decide between two things, and they didn't read it very well. This is my opinion, but maybe they read it very well. But in any case, they didn't know what they decided. So they decided that after 2 years, all the school books for the Romansh region would be in Romansh Gijun. And they did this vote without asking the single villages, which is gegen die Menschenrechte. I can't say it in another language now. Quas contra els drets humans. And then that divided the Romansh group in two parts, and there was very, very hard. The one they wanted to go on with Romansh Gijun, and the one they didn't want to go on. And I think this is a very tragic situation, because we are so small, we're so it's a very little group. If this little group starts to fight each other, then we are lost. And now, they went until Strasbourg, and they became right, and now the villages can decide. But what do we do with the generation who had to learn it? What will they do with their children? So it was a very fatal decision. And now my proposal would be not an alphabetic language, but the language for the school books, for the secondary book, like biology, mathematics, and all this. They're the texture in Romansh gesprochen, but not for the primary school. The primary school should be in their idioms. Mm-hmm. Well,
MEVINA, we are running out of time.
Yes, I know.
So I would say
So
to
we say goodbye.
listen to Szymborska in Romansh the very last time.
No, I think you could read the Szymborska in Polish.
No, we are here to listen to Romansh. So I disagree. And
now it will be the end. Is that correct?
yes. So we have just time to the very last.
But can we
poem.
ask, would you like to have this time? Because you're tired? No? But let's read it in the two languages.
Okay. C'est à toi de choisir.
Un incontro inatteso?
This is a short one.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Niespodziane spotkanie. Jesteśmy bardzo uprzejmi dla siebie. Twierdzimy, że to miło spotkać się po latach. Nasze tygrysy piją mleko. Nasze jastrzębie chodzą pieszo. Nasze rekiny toną w wodzie. Nasze wilki ziewają przed otwartą klatką. Nasze żmije otrząsnęły się z błyskawic. Małpy z natchnień, pawie z piór. Nietoperze jakże dawno uleciały z naszych włosów. Milkniemy w połowie zdania, bez ratunku uśmiechnięci. Nasi ludzie nie umieją mówić z sobą.
Inscunter surpreendent. Non si incontrain con maniera. Fain scosci füs beldes verer. Der steht da woans. Nos tigers baivan lat, nos sprers van a pe, nos squals na jainten i laua, nos lufs suosden davant lur ciaptia verta, nos as serps san deliberadas de las saietas, las scimges dels sils, ils pavuns de las pennas, ils ucces mets murs han tutte fat fagot o da nossa ciavlura, i mets la frase vaina tajù. Vain suris tot pers. No, non vain da dir plü nullia.
Maybe you have some questions.
Yes.
You have 5 minutes to ask your questions. Don't be shy.
I enjoyed very much that we had the questions also between, and I want to apologize that I abused your knowledge. Yes, you're here, but I mean you just could be here as a guest, and I
It's all good. Good cooperation.
thank you very much.
So, any question? 1, 2 questions. It would be nice.
Yes. Yeah, the rap. Mm-hmm. Yes, especially for songers, rappers, and other songwriters. We don't have a very good developing in literature. We have very less romane, prosa, prosa. But for music, that's the problem I see. But that's probably every language. The language, the Romanish language, is changing very, very much. So the other day I heard 2 little girls and they said, also Jivenan, qua po deine kletterar su. Da können wir aufklettern. Kletterar su. Do you see the difference? It would be rampignar. And they made klettern is German, a kletterar is German with a Romansh, and they were very small. So probably the German and Romanish they are too close together, and one language will once be stronger. But I mean, the Latin has very nice daughters, so it might be one of the new daughters. What happens? Yes. Yeah. Arno Kamenisch doesn't write Romanish anymore. Many writers start in Romanish and then, zack, and then they are German writers. But we have some, they write in 2 languages, which is, I think, complicated. They write the both languages by themselves, and we have very few poets who write only in Romansh, and then they have translators. I think that would be the best. We have them. And we have very much lyric and very, very few narrative, also Romane. How do you say it in English? Novels. Very, very few. I don't know why. Yes?
Has any of the authors abandoned, for example, German, French, or Italian to write in Romansh? Has anyone abandoned?
Like a Samuel Beckett.
Yes, exactly.
Or a Nabokov.
The reason why I'm asking is because it has happened in Africa, for example, and they use their own, so they abandoned English, for example, in Nutian abandoned English to write in Swahili.
Well, you know, we are very little. So we have also very few people who buy the books. So it happens sometimes, but then it happens more to have a new platform, maybe because if you are famous in Romansh, you are famous. If you are famous in German, you have to make your. But I think it's not the way. No. Yeah. Is that the few minutes? So, to whom can I give the word?
Everybody's happy? Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję Państwu bardzo. Thank you very much. What's next? We see you next year again, and then again, and again, and again. And we see you all next year again, and again, and again. Thank you very much. Panie Maćku, dziękuję Panu bardzo również przede wszystkim za wszystko.
But next year I will be very silent and Maciej will speak much more. I feel miserable about that because he is the chief. No. Thank you very, very much to all the. Thank you.